Cute, fun, and only slightly existentially terrifying, A Hat in Time is one of the most prominent success stories crowdfunding has ever seen. Very few indie games even approach 10,000 sales, let alone 1 million, and certainly not on their first freaking attempt. But it earned every dollar. Solid level design, a godlike soundtrack, and perhaps its greatest tool, charm. There's a sense of scale and bizarreness that is downright weaponized in the effort to give A Hat in Time an atmosphere all its own. You feel like a kid again when you play this game, not just because it's trying to recapture the magic of a genre long lost but still very beloved, although that is a big part of it. It's also because everything feels big, foreign, kind of intimidating, and pure joy to experience. Hat Kid herself is a literal alien in this world, so when you go from her colorful playground of a ship to picking fights with the actual mafia, it's hard not to imagine that anything is possible in this world. And that anticipation is constantly rewarded with fresh adventures. It's just so gosh darn charming, even when unholy abominations are chasing you down. And you're right there alongside Hat Kid, discovering all of this weirdness firsthand. Unique set pieces, bouncy animation, crazy power-ups, hilarious writing, all the lore you could ever want. And the characters. Good lord, the characters. This game would not be nearly as entertaining if it wasn't positively packed with personality. For instance, the badge seller, who looks like he's struggling to exist.
#relatable.
Or Cooking Cat, who just lives in the rafters of this restaurant, I guess. But even among this eclectic cast, there are two that not only stand head and shoulders above everyone else in their own world, they come close to stealing the entire bloody show. After thoroughly trouncing the aforementioned mafia, A Hat in Time's second level opens up. The Battle of the Birds. Which birds? This bird. And this thing. These two are DJ Grooves and the Conductor, and they have 3 traits in common. They love making movies, they got scammed into owning the exact same movie studio, and they detest each other. They are in constant competition to produce the best films and win the prestigious Bird Movie Awards. 51 of these ceremonies have taken place at the start of the game, and the Conductor has won all of them. All except number 42. And as it happens, when Hat Kid shows up, they need a new actress, and she needs the collectibles they're willing to pay her with. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. The crazy thing is, the outcome of this competition is not set in stone. Depending on how well you perform during the next couple stages, the director related to it will gain points toward the 52nd Bird Movie Award. So if you want a particular character to come out ahead, you could intentionally put in the bare minimum for one of them. It's a cool mechanic, and a fantastic way of influencing how you approach levels outside of the micro goals within them. Careful though, you can't overwrite a high score total with a smaller one, and once you enter the ceremony itself, those numbers and the winner will lock in, so be positive that the balance is to your liking. By the by, give yourself a bit of breathing room if you want the Conductor to take it. The way the levels are designed, going ham on all 4 means Grooves will win every time, which is funny considering the context of the stages. In Act 2, the Conductor has you solve a murder mystery on his train that's shot entirely in this not-quite sepia filter. You scurry about collecting evidence as you dodge around these crows that are also trying to crack the case. And if the reveal of this being a setup with an actor and a rubber knife gives you confidence that he's not a psychopath, don't worry. Say hello to Act 4, where he risks blowing you, his train, and everyone on it to smithereens with a time bomb just to get some good footage. What does DJ Grooves counter with? You go on a PR tour and head a parade. Gee, I wonder why he keeps losing. Especially when he sets the roofs on fire, shoots missiles at you, and hires band members that don't respect personal space. Why are you trying to trample me? I'm just doing my job! Even the audience below will mosh you to death if you fall into them. This crowd is rougher than a Gwar concert. But whoever leads at the end, the final obstacle unlocks. The awards ceremony. You steel yourself, expecting something to go wrong during the proceedings, maybe the other director swooping in and trying to steal what they think is theirs. And it's a grand old time. The winner thanks you for the hard work, hands you another collectible, kind of rudely brushes you aside, and all is well. Or is it? You arrive back at your ship, confident that World 2 is behind you, when suddenly the phone rings. A mysterious voice echoes through the line with a bombshell revelation. The awards were rigged. He urges you to seek the truth by returning to the studio at night, and what follows is some of the finest platforming in a Hatton Times book. The basement is a huge level that tests every single skill you learned during your tenure as an actress, all while hitting you with even more of that awesome music. You feel like that secret agent Hat Kid is pretending she is with that adorable little finger gun as you weave your way through security cameras, guards, and treacherous leaps across huge caverns. And waiting for you at the end is the moment this entire world has been building up to. What would you do if you could change history? If you had the power to control the flow of time with a thought? Would you use it as a way to live your best life? To always make the right choices and seek out the most favorable possible outcome? Would you go back and fix old mistakes, setting you up for even greater success later on? Or would you go even further? Perhaps you try to change major historical events or prevent tragedies. Or maybe you would manipulate everything to reshape society in your image. Why not? After all, you have all the time in the world. Someone being able to alter history is a terrifying prospect. It's the kind of ability that could wreak havoc in the wrong hands, warping the fabric of reality as we know it. And the scary thing is, none of us would be aware that anything had changed. From our perspective, this would just be how the world always was. You'd only trust such absolute power to the very best of us all, and certainly not to someone with a gigantic ego or a massive chip on their shoulder. The collectibles you've been seeking in this game are called timepieces, and, as demonstrated at the end of Mafia Town, they do exactly what you think they do. Hat Kid needs them to fuel her ship so she can get back home, but the various residents of the world that they accidentally got scattered on have other ideas. Such is the case with whoever you helped win the annual Bird Movie Awards. They won't be giving up the timepiece they kept from you without a fight. And what a fight it is! Think back to some of your favorite boss fights in games. In a turn-based RPG, most of them have a single gimmick, maybe a second phase if they're a final boss or important to the plot. Even in high-action masterpieces like Bayonetta, it's hard to find foes that surpass 4 or 5 unique attack patterns, even fewer with distinctive moments of the fight ramping up in intensity. The battle for Award 42 has 9 attacks to dodge, 16 if you count variations, spread across 6 phases. All this in an encounter that barely lasts 7 minutes if you include the dialogue. Just take a second to appreciate how much work went into making that little of the total game. Dive bombs, disco balls, body slams, runaway cars, and a very nasty-looking knife that the conductor announces with, "This one ain't rubber!" The audience will even shower Hat Kid in roses and health-restoring items once you've dealt enough damage, clearly enjoying the show. And that's just the first 3 phases. After all that, the director you're fighting decides that playtime is over. No more screwing around. The room goes dark, the music cuts, and they invite you to sit down and chat for a while. And they're serious about this. It isn't a trick to get some cheap hits in. They explain their side to try and convince Hat Kid of their plight. It's here that you learn the motives of each respective bird. In the case of DJ Grooves, he believes that the conductor has been cheating for years and wants to use the timepieces to, quote, set things right. Whereas the conductor, in the same position, is so egotistical that he cannot accept that his single loss was legitimate. He plans on completing his collection to further bury his rival, whom he also accuses of foul play. In the script, I wrote foul as F-O-W-L, and in hindsight, I have no idea why. I'm the only one who's ever gonna get to see this. I did a sight gag for an audio recording. What is wrong with me? Barring these are exceptionally selfish applications of such great power, both of them were willing to harm a literal child for the sake of their goals. Therefore, they probably don't deserve to see their dreams come to fruition, and thus you must decline. Or do you? Clever as this game is, Hat Kid is given the option to consider their prospect. This choice ends with the fight continuing anyway, but hey, at least you tried. Now that diplomacy has failed, you might notice Hat Kid has a fancy new backpack. Remember that bomb from one of the conductor's movies? It's strapped to you now, and you have 80 seconds before it explodes and kills you instantly. This is where the fight ramps up yet again. The boss adds a barrage of buzzsaws to the mix, as well as a mocking lap around the stage, deliberately trying to waste time until the bomb goes off. But in your darkest moment, when all hope seems lost, the other director shows up, bringing a defusing kit with them. 5 more hits and a quick snip later, and the battle enters its final phase. And right as you were thinking they ran out of recurring mechanics from this world, look who it is.
And let me see what you have.
Oh good, the parade is back. And like before, they will chase you down until you complete your goals for the area. It takes some tricky maneuvering, not to mention laser focus. But after just a few more hits, the fight will finally come to an end. The director toppled, and their last timepiece free for the reclaiming. I have mountains of respect for video game developers. Every aspect of the art form, from music to textures and everything in between, not only has to stand alone, but also has to work in tandem with each other in all conceivable scenarios. The battle for Award 42 is great because it's a textbook example of this done so right. It's not just the strong character design and the first-hand knowledge you have of how much sense this encounter makes in the grand scheme of who these two are. Characterization that's made even stronger by the stellar vocal performances of Anthony Sardina and Xander Mobus. It's not just the intelligent design of the fight itself, serving as a greatest hits album and final exam of all of World 2's best mechanics, making you wonder if the boss was designed after the levels or vice versa. It's not just the masterful pacing of the battle, accentuated by the incredible music of Pascal Michael Stiefel. It's been running in the background this whole time, but I'd like to take a moment to highlight the emotional journey this track leads you on. First, the driving intensity of phases 1 through 3. The almost comically chill piano playing over the negotiations. To the even harder instrumentation of the reprise right after, reflecting the heightened stakes of the live bomb strapped to your back, and coincidentally, my favorite part of the song. And finally, to the big band-like crescendo during the return of the parade. Every phase of this fight is an event, not only because of the objective gameplay reasons, but because of a soundtrack made to support this distinction. It's not any one element of the fight that makes this moment amazing. It's all of them together, taken as a whole. The battle for Award 42 is a roller coaster of a boss fight, and an easy candidate for one of the best in any collectathon ever. Which makes you wonder, what do the others look like? And while the answer is beyond the purview of this video, rest assured, if you give A Hat in Time a try for yourself, you will not be disappointed.
Or can you?